Hi, and welcome to another episode of Glenn's Tech Corner. In this video, I'll show you how to pull data from one sheet to another in Google Sheets. We can do it in a few different ways, and I'm going to show all of them. So the first thing we can do, if we have two totally separate spreadsheets, we can take the data from one of them and put into the other. We do that by, in the receiving document, we make an import range. And then it first asks us to provide it with the URL for the spreadsheet. So we'll take the full URL for this spreadsheet from where we want to take the data. And then we insert it in quotes. And then we go to the next part of the formula with a comma. And then it asks us for the range. And here we'll also make quotes and say we want from column A to column E. End quote and end parentheses. When we do this, suddenly we have the whole thing imported from our data sheet over here. If I added a new instance in the bottom, just with copied information, this would of course also come over here instantly. So this is the first thing we can do. And we can still do some formatting here if we wanted it to look nicer. The other thing we can do is we can also copy data between the different sheets we have inside one spreadsheet. The simple way is to do a reference way. We simply go to this sheet and say equal, and then we find the top leftmost A1 cell, do like this, and then we can just drag down and we can drag out here. And this is just exactly like having a mirror of the data over here. We cannot do any fancy modification of the data, so this is definitely not the method that I use, but for some simple cases it can be useful. We can also still format this in new ways if we would like. But the interesting way to move data between these sheets is to do a query, which I'll show in this. Just delete the one I made and start on a fresh one. So what we can do is we can make a query. And this will need a few different things. First, it will ask us for what data are we using. And I want to use from our data sheet. And I want A to E. So I have all the data. Then in the next one, it wants the query. And I'll start with a simple one. Just say select A, comma, B, end. And it asks if we have headers, which we do. Just type in a 1. Now this query returned, it had the data set from A to E, but I only asked it to select A and B. We could just add in to also select C and do the same with D and E. So we have the whole thing. This is the first thing we can do, but here we have a lot of options to manage the data in different ways. We could do a where C equal UK. And then we only have the UK instance. We could also do a and B equals sales rep. And then we have 2 filters on. So this gives us a lot of options. And if I went over here and added a new one, John 2, he's also sales rep from UK. And just with the same information here. Going back here, he would also appear instantly because he is getting imported to this one. And then we use the query over here. In the query, we can do much more things. We can also say that we also want to get D divided by E as a column, so we can see the target of the goal, which should actually be the opposite calculation, I guess. E divided like that. So we can see how big a percentage is this number of this number. And we can also order them in different ways. At the end of this one, we can say order by, and then we can say E/D. And now we get it default from small to large. We can change that by writing DESC, descending, like this. So this gives us plenty of different options to extract the data, filter it, order it, and show it in different ways. And now you might think this doesn't look super cool that it says quotient realized target. So we can also add the end say I want to label my E/D as index, and then it gets changed up here. We could also do that with the other columns. So we have a lot of different ways to work with this. We also have another cool feature that I'd like to show. I'll just remove most of it to say that I only select B, which is the title. And then I do a group by B. We need to select just a few more. We just also select, and I'll just do a sum like this. So we have one more thing. What it does now that it groups all of those lines who have the same title and only represents them once. And then we have the chance to use all these different like math terms to either say I want the sum of D, I want the average of D, I want the max, I want the minimum value, and all that we can see here. So we can see for all sales managers, this is the revenue. For their target, this is their sum target, this is their average target, this is the maximum target, this is the minimum target. And we could do that for all the data and easily show it in a way, and still we can sort it like we used to do. We can still order by average D and do like that. And we could of course also do that instead of doing it by this, we could also do it by others, but now it's because I need of course to group it with the same that I am extracting, like this. We could also group it by country. So we have a lot of different options, and the moment we change something in the datasheet, let's just see, Germany had 195. If I added in here that Germany was all of these and went back, then suddenly it would have reordered them and recalculated based on that now Germany represents more of them. We can do this again and it would instantly correct it. So this is a super good way to make dashboards or reports or something else simply by modifying all the data you already have in your Google Sheets. I hope this can help you be even more efficient when working in Google Sheets. Thank you so much for watching.